Hi there, and welcome to the official Merch Route YouTube channel. Today we'll be discussing something that I'm sure many of you have been keeping your eye on, and that's shipping costs and how the global geopolitical events can significantly impact them. In this video, we're discussing the very recent events in Ukraine, my predictions on the prices of shipping, and ultimately how we got to these astronomical prices that we are now seeing. Additionally, we'll look at how you can reduce your shipping costs by implementing some of our tactics to get the lowest shipping price. So, without further haste, let's dive straight in. First, I really want to state that this video holds no political bias on the current Russian-European situation. From someone who's lived and worked and loved in so many different countries, including Russia. Now, it's a shame that in 2022, we solved some of the political indifferences using war. So, with that uncomfortableness out of the way, let's progress into the current price of shipping that we can see today. So I'm sure many of you guys have been keeping a close eye on the current shipping prices and their rise into the stratosphere that we currently have. Now, pushing prices up for the entire supply chain and ultimately the end customers. It's all very intertwined and will have a massive impact upon inflation and the basic cost of living for everybody. But how did we end up in this position we're in now, and what are my predictions for container shipping costs moving forward? To start with, we need to go back to the end of 2019, if we can remember that far back, after the gin-induced comas of lockdown. Now, there was a total shutdown of China and subsequent shutdown of the factories producing stock there. The shutdown was a massive shock to the global supply chain as the world's factories closed overnight. However, the users of those items that have manufacturing switched off didn't just stop using or needing those overseas products overnight. The orders were still being requested to the factories, producing somewhat of a backlog when they switched back on. Now, this, alongside a pivot of thousands of factories to create PPE, essentially kicked off the supply chain issues we see now. And now, as China lifted those restrictions on manufacturing plants in 2020, the fulfillment of backlogged orders started. A lot of these manufacturing plants had already pivoted towards PPE supply too. And as containers were finally loaded with goods, they were transported to the relevant destination countries. However, when the ships arrived in port, there was a problem. The receiving countries and subsequent ports were in lockdowns. Now, those lockdowns had a twofold effect on the shipping situation. The first was the port in the receiving countries were ultimately on shutdown, along with the rest of the supply chain. And as you now know, it didn't take long for those ships to start to back up, and eventually they either stopped offloading containers or the container ships were unloading and then returning empty. Essentially, the containers couldn't be unloaded or emptied. Now, this made the areas outside the ports, especially in the US, heavily congested, with millions of containers sat out at sea on boats. And the second effect, which compounded the issue more, was as the world sat with idle hands, the online sales went crazy. Remember the saying, idle hands are the devil's playthings? Well, in the shipping industry, this rang true. People's buying habits changed overnight. More time spent at home in gardens and at home offices meant that people were buying items in orders of magnitude not seen before. And much like the shipping container ships that transported the goods, the supply chain is a behemoth to move direction overnight. So the reaction was slow. Now, this perceived low stock drove more online sales, which drove more containers, prompted more ships to be stuck outside ports, and drove shortages, demand, and price. The vessels being stuck outside the ports of the destination also impacted container supply. I mean, getting hold of a container was a considerable challenge that suppliers had to contend with. Now, getting containers offloaded in ports was a challenge, with lockdowns, furlough, and social distancing only compounding the supply chain's inefficiency. Yet, demand for the stock was never greater. All these issues combined strained the supply chain into the situation where we were paying upwards of £16,000 for containers, pricing a lot out of the market. Now, with all these headwinds, it seemed that nothing could get any worse, only better. Then we had a ship do a handbrake turn in the Suez Canal, compounding the issue no end. So as you can see, there was a challenge after challenge for every freight forwarder. Everyone was really at the mercy of the shipping companies, who, by the way, have profited massively through all of this. Now, until the situation that we now find ourselves in, because explained above, the supply chain reaction is so interwoven that any impact, no matter how trivial, has much more significant downstream effect. So, what are the reasons why I think the shipping cost will increase again due to the crisis in Ukraine? Now, as we mentioned in Lloyd's List shipping news last week, that all container deliveries to Ukraine will be cancelled, it's no surprise, and also no ships being permitted to dock there. And Russia has a temporary booking suspension. This will again impact the shipping and supply chain systems once again. Many shipping companies have suspended shipping routes that traverse the Black Sea. Additionally, there is the human aspect, with 14% of all seafarers being either Russian or Ukraine. All of this will boil down to a hefty increase in shipping, as the companies involved in the global shipping have stated that 47% of international shipping will be affected by current crises. All those hubs in Northern Europe are already pretty congested, and every little thing that delays cargo flows will intensify the problem. And we've not even talked about the impact the increased price of oil will have upon the shipping fees. There is also the added complexity that Russia has closed its airspace to many airlines that fly within its borders, also impacting air shipment transits. So, where will this leave shipping prices for a shipment of stock from China? Well, as the past years have told us, prepare for the unexpected. It's possible shipping rates could double or triple from where they are currently. Is a £30,000 40-foot shipping container out of question? If anything of the past few years has taught us, be prepared for the unexpected. So, what can we do to ensure that we get the best price possible to ship items from manufacturers to us here in the UK? The first thing to do is familiarise ourselves with the current shipping costs. Understand if we're getting a reasonable price or not by shopping around and finding the best price. Now, you can do this by looking on shipping sites such as Freightos and ensuring you get at least 3 to 4 different quotes from different sailings and different companies. You want to ensure that you're doing everything you possibly can to ensure that you have everything lined up too. Don't have any production delays if possible. Avoid charges and ensure that everybody knows what they're doing and when. This means that you need to be explicitly ensure that your supplier is ready and waiting with the goods when the containers turn up at the factory, if your shipping X works, for example. It's worth asking freight forwards if they have any LCL services as well, as they may offer a more competitive price for your stock. Or if you're part of any reseller forums, it may be worth consolidating your shipping with other resellers and getting a bit of a better deal when it comes to filling containers. And ensure that you have the most accurate shipping costs to get a quotation. And to do that, get your quotation as close to your shipping sailing date as possible. Now, it's increasingly hard for the forwarders to predict the cost on any day because of the volatility of the international markets. The closer to the sailing day your quote will give you a more accurate price of shipping. And be sure to do your homework, research every solution for you. Split freight up, look at air freight, and ensure that you have all the bases covered. Now, it's going to be a rough ride in the coming months for transport and logistics, but be sure to check out our links below in our comments to see how you can get the best shipping rates and the systems that we use. Now, I want to add a final point that coincides with the ethos of this channel and why we try to achieve here at Merchsprout what we do. Now, if we're forced to pay for this excessive shipping rate, and from all the indications we're possibly going to have to, please ensure that you will be bringing across into the UK products of good quality. Take your time and do your due diligence on your products. Get inspectors into your factories to inspect that stock and ensure that you're 1,000,000% happy with the items before they're shipped, and do everything you can to avoid getting hurt by poor quality products. Now, we're talking about quality products. Be sure to check out our other videos on how to get the best quality items from China. Additionally, check out our shipping terms videos to get a grasp with shipping Incoterms. And don't forget, if you like this video, be sure to like it and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, bye.